Right now, I'd like to open it up to see if Clayton or Darren, since they've tuned in after doing a 3 hour class today, are willing to ask some questions. And if not, I'll do a few more if you're willing to.
Sure.
Darren or Clayton, you can go ahead and unmute yourselves or put yourselves on camera if
Hello.
you're comfortable.
How do you
That's
deal
Darren.
with?
Hey, Darren.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Not too bad, except for allergies here in Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with difficult actors as a director?
That's a great question, and sometimes they are difficult. I I try to respect them and let them know that I respect them, because usually that kind of difficulty is a defense mechanism that comes from being scared, being feeling like that they aren't appreciated, or they aren't, understood or liked or trusted. And usually, not always, but usually, you can break that wall down by letting them know that you respect them, that you trust them, that you are not there to make fun of them. Sometimes I think producers. Are you a producer or a director? Or what?
I mostly directed. This is the first producing class I think I've ever had.
Great. I would also recommend take an acting class and see how vulnerable it is for you to be on stage saying someone else's lines, and doing something that is a little bit uncomfortable.
Oh, I
Because
remember that. I'm sorry. I remember that from high school.
Oh, great. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I think when you put yourself in the actor's shoes, you can understand, oh, he or she's probably scared. And if you can assuage that fear, you can usually get over it. Now, if you can't, sometimes you got to put your foot down. Sometimes you have to say, I'm the boss here, and this is the way that I want to take this story, and this is why. And if you explain it to them, again, it's sort of like in war. You have to give your enemy a bridge to retreat on. And if you can make it a way so that the actor can save face by changing their mind, 99% of the time they will. And if not, sometimes it just comes to, this is what we have to do. And if not, we'll have to go a different way. But
What do you do to change
seldom
the mind when you say this change the mind? I'm just
Yeah.
curious. How do you make that change of the mind?
Well, I think a mistake a lot of directors make is talking too much. I've worked a lot with a guy named Jeff Reiner, who's a pretty big TV director producer, and he's done some movies. And he just has a way of not talking too much and kind of letting me or letting other actors. He works with a lot. He did that show The Affair, and he's done a lot of shows. And he had some difficult actors on that, I think. And he just found a way of appreciating what they brought to it, and little by little chipping away at some of their choices to guide them, not push them, but guide them in the direction that he thought the scene needed to go. So sometimes it's really hard to change a mind, and some people are stubborn, but 9 times out of 10 it's because they're scared. And if you can assuage that fear and make them a little bit more comfortable and make them realize that you're on their side. I want you to be the best you can be. I'm not going to hang you out to dry. They will come around. And sometimes it's just talking about script. The director usually knows the whole script a little bit better than the actors, and the director can then say, yeah, but that doesn't quite work when we're working on this other storyline, and da 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 da. And then the actor can go, oh yeah, I see. Okay, I got it. So it's not just me, it's how I fit in this whole puzzle.
Thank you. How important are reshoots for actors?
I would say they are more important for filmmakers, for directors and producers, and writers. That's really an interesting question, because usually reshoots are done once there's a rough draft of the film, and they're realizing that they're missing something or that they need to reshoot or rework something. Again, on that little indie film you were just showing, one BR, that was a very low budget, um, kind of psychological thriller movie, and we shot it in 12 days. And after they kind of put it together, they realized they didn't have enough information about the cult to make it really interesting, because the movie was not just a horror movie; it was a psychological thriller about being, taken in by a cult. And so when we did the reshoots, we didn't reshoot any scenes. Actually, we just added new scenes that gave the cult a little bit more depth. So um, I guess if you're not pleased with your work as an actor, reshoots can be really helpful. But I find it's really more of a tool, and a very valuable tool for producers and directors.
Script supervisor help with that? What not uh, to perhaps make reshoots unnecessary, or to add, or would they help in uh, realizing that you don't have everything?
Right.
So,
First of all, that's a great question, because script supervisors can be your best friend as an actor or your worst nightmare as an actor. And script supervisors usually talk with the director and say, Taylor missed this line in take four and missed this line in this line, or something like that. Um, I believe strongly that actors have to be word perfect. That's their job. You're paying me to at least show up and be word perfect. That said, being word perfect is not always the best way to do that scene, because of what's going on in the moment, because of the connection with the other actor, because of what the directors, created on the set. Sometimes a little bit of improv or changing a line here or there is very valuable, or getting around a clunky phrase and kind of making it your own. When we rehearse theater, we rehearse Arthur Miller, the famous, playwright, for a month. And so we really learn his dialogue for a month. But on a movie or a TV show, it's very fast. And sometimes the writers are as harried as the actors are. And sometimes the script, I hate to say this, is not perfect.
oh,
It's the writer did the best job that they could, and then it was rewritten by someone else, and then rewritten by another person, and the line is just clunky. And a script supervisor can ruin the day if they come in and are really nitpicky over every single word. And then they can do exactly what Peter was talking about earlier, about getting the actor thinking about, oh God, what's the exact, phrase, or what's the exact word, or what's the exact, series of words. And so I'm thinking about that now, rather than connecting with you, Darren, in the scene. And so, and other times, script supervisor, excuse me, can be great and kind of let some of those things slide if there's no real reason why it has to be that way. Sometimes it does have to be exactly word perfect. I did a show for HBO called Mind of the Married Man, and the writer director of that, a guy named Mike Binder, really wrote how he wanted it to sound. Whit Stillman really writes how he wants it to sound. So those ones you really do need to be perfect. And there is no magic tool of knowing which script has to be exactly word perfect and which one doesn't. But there is a little bit of give and take between a director and an actor and a script supervisor and a writer about, can I change this word? Can I change that word? Um,
I
we're looking for honest moments, not for a regurgitation of the script.
a student film I made a while ago now. I had to change part of the script because the actress couldn't say the word.
Yeah, yeah. I have a little bit of a stutter. I don't know if you've heard it at all, but I have a little bit of a stutter. And sometimes certain words are hard for me to say. And so I will change the word. And I think most times people would rather have me be comfortable saying the line than freaking out about possibly stuttering on a certain word or a certain line or something like that. Now, sometimes the line's got to be said exactly as written. And it's my job, and I firmly believe the actor has to be prepared to be word perfect. That's why you're paid.
Um, I'm going to see if Clayton has one more question. But one thing I did want to ask you, Taylor, before you head out, I know you have a limited time with us. Was is there a particular scene? You mentioned Moneyball. Are there films that you revisit to sort of reinvigorate yourself and like inspire you to keep going and push past? And are those things that you are there some that you rewatch and you would recommend for the students to also see?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I do that a lot. There's a lot of movies going all the way back to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and Godfather and Tootsie. Tootsie's a movie. Darren, have you seen Tootsie? Dustin Hoffman.
I don't think he knows he's muted. It's okay.
You're muted.
I'll edit it together and it'll say yes with
I saw it a long time ago.
Yeah, that's a movie that is always worth re-watching as an actor, writer, director. Moneyball is one. Almost Famous is one. West Side Story is one. I tend to watch a movie that fits in with the project that I'm getting ready to do. I directed a short film one time, and I remember on the our first day of shooting was started late in the day, and I remember I woke up in the morning and I watched All That Jazz, the Bob Fosse movie, and that's just such an artistic movie, such an honest movie, no judgment of the characters and stuff, that it really set me on a right path to go in and direct that little movie. And I think the same is true as an actor. I find certain movies that I watch when I'm down, when I'm kind of depressed, and they make me feel better about being an actor and about the craft of acting. And I watch them when I need to be inspired. I'm trying to think of my real go-to movies: Butch Cassidy, The Sting, The Godfather. Pretty basic run-of-the-mill classic film. I'm not nearly as well versed as Piru is in film genre. I'm sure you can say much more than I about the A Third Man is one that I always watch. That's a great question. I wish I had planned it out ahead of time and written down a list for you. But the truth is, you, Clayton and Darren, need to pick your own films that inspire you. And sometimes it's just snippets of movies. Just that one scene is so great. And I'll watch that scene a couple of times over, how they shot it, how the actor did it, everything about it. And that inspires me to go create more good work.
Chinatown.
And if I can ask just one last question, Taylor. Last week we had Aaron Lee Dow here, producer director from LA, and he was talking about.
I saw that one that you sent me. Yeah, that was wonderful. I watched it.
Yeah, yeah. He was talking a lot about the idea of theme and how at Loyola Marymount, when they're sort of teaching filmmakers, they want them to write about a theme and then sort of create an idea for a theme. And I was wondering if it works the other way for you as an actor too, that as you're doing your sort of script breakdown for yourself, are you thinking, here's a theme or a mood or an adjective, and it carries you through the performance?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And I was taught, and I teach when I teach an acting class, and I use when I act this little system that I call a roadmap, and it's the roadmap that I do for script analysis. And the very first there's 5 steps to it, and the very first step of this roadmap is, what's the theme of the scene that you're doing, or the play or the movie or whatever. What's the theme? What's the overall gist of what you're getting at? Is it a manipulation scene? Is it a rescue scene? Is it a love scene? Is it those kinds of words, and then that one, it helps me learn the lines, because now I'm thinking, oh, this is a rescue scene. I'm here to help this person. I'm going to save them. And so the lines all come out of this idea that I'm going to save her. I'm going to save her. Now, it may not be, she's actually drowning in the pool. It may mean that, she has a drug addiction, or it may mean that she's going to get married to the wrong guy, and I have to go in and sort of convince her to marry me. So rather than a love scene, I would play, this is a rescue scene. I'm gonna rescue this woman, and not worry about love. Love will come. And this is another thing we talk a lot about as actors that I think is really valuable for directors. Don't play the end of the scene at the beginning of the scene. If the scene ends with me kissing her, I wouldn't say it's a love scene, because then there's no growth during the whole scene to get to where I kiss her. But if it's a rescue scene and it ends with me kissing her, or even better, if it's an escape scene, I'm trying to get away and I'm trying to escape, and I end up kissing her, then there's real growth in that scene for my character. And I think that's intriguing to watch as an audience member.
Fantastic stuff, Taylor. I mean, it's one thing that's so impressive about you, besides your acting. Whenever you visit my classes, you're incredible, so sharp and so clear. And one of my teachers always said, the best teachers are the ones that can say it in the shortest and sweetest way possible. And you always do. And I get it, and I hope that Darren and Clayton and the hundreds of students that will watch this get the same benefit for you being here with us at Southern Illinois University.
Well, thank you. And let me say, you guys are really lucky to have Piru as your teacher and educator, because not only has he done it in the real world, he's now teaching it. And I remember back at AMDA so long ago, you just sort of stuck out as kind of a different level of intelligence and a different level of passion for this art form that is really a wonderful art form, and it ain't going away. It's just exploding. It started with vaudeville, and then it went to feature films and silent films, and then talkies, and then TV, and then the internet, and now, my God, TikTok and Instagram, and so it's really wonderful to have someone who kind of knows the medium to guide you on your journey.